I never grew up with educators that looked like myself. I always knew that wisdom was a powerful tool, but I also know that oftentimes we neglect it because of who it comes from.
Facts.
It's not necessarily just about being a king, it's more so about becoming a kingmaker.
Man, you got to be close enough to relate, but far enough ahead to inspire. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Let's Grow Together podcast, the place where diverse individuals and communities come to serve, connect, and grow in areas that they're most passionate about. It's your boy James. I am joined with my brother Marcus, as always. How you doing, brother?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm back recovered now. Boy, I was hurt over the weekend. I don't know what got in me, man. But yeah, wifey came through, played nurse, saved the day. So I'm feeling back charged up. Just got back from Avery's practice too, man. My baby is getting ready to be in gymnastics and dance all at the same
Hey,
time.
let's go,
So
let's
my
go.
baby out there, my baby out there growing up on me, man. I'm sad and happy all at the same time. So
You getting her ready
all
for the
is well, man.
Olympics? Is she gonna be ready for the Olympics?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, legit, legit. My baby finna crush it. No games, no games. We ready. We coming, man.
Yeah.
And outside that, man, planning a little bit of a guys trips to Puerto Rico. So I'm
Okay.
charged up, excited for that. Getting ready to get up out the country, have a little bit of fun, man, and just decompress before we really dive into the school year. Cause there's gonna be a lot of moving pieces this year, man. What about yourself? How you living?
Yeah, man, feeling good. It's funny you mentioned international travel, man. We're doing the second round of our Colombia trip, so we got another group of youth that we're taking to Colombia. Actually, the guys, they're probably just landing in Colombia, not too long from now, or shortly they'll be landing. But we were able to take a group of guys and girls this time, so it's gonna be really dope. And now they get the full experience, so they'll be out there for 8 full days, and they'll really be able to kind of travel to
Come
some
on.
of these communities and connect. So I'm really excited about that. Outside of that, the school year is
Hey,
starting up.
hey, bro.
Yes,
So
sir.
you not going? Cause I was finna
Nah,
ask you, are you ready for your second round of voting?
nah, I'm no, I am here. I am here, as you can see. But no, man, it was intentional for me not to go this time, just to allow some of our other mentors and AGGF guys to go. One, to
Yes, sir.
experience it, but two, they have a close relationship with some of the youth that's going, so that kind of works better, especially with international travel and some of the components that come with that.
Definitely.
Um, but outside of that, man, we're gearing up for the school year. As you can imagine, we got programs that are starting up. So we're looking to, one, build some dope lesson plans to take to equip our mentors with to go into the schools. And man, I'm just really excited for us to roll out some of these systems we've been working on.
Yeah, I know y'all been at workshopping getting it in, man. So I'm excited to see how that streamlined process comes into play. And we're actually last year we were in 11 schools. At the end of this year, man, we're gonna be looking at 18. So, bro,
Oh
we're
yeah, hold
scaling.
on, we got
Yeah, man. We're scaling continuously, man. Continue to make impact. We got a lot of like book bag drives kind of things coming up prior
yeah.
to this upcoming Saturday. So excited about it, man. But ready to get to it, man. Now, as always, I know you got something crisp for me, man. What you got for me today, brother?
Yeah. Let's see. All right. So, a dream without a motive is just a deep thought. And this is from our guy, Dr. Eric Thomas. It's funny because in our last conversation, I almost gave this quote away because I was like, man, it was something that Phipps said, and I was like, I almost gave it away. But Marcus, I'm coming to you first, man. What does this quote mean to you, or what comes out to you?
Man, I just think about like a kid, like right when you're just daydreaming, you're thinking about how the world is limitless, but at the same time as you become an adult, you have different things on your plate, right? If you aren't motivated to fully, manifest this, it's just gonna be a thought.
Yeah,
It's not gonna take wings and manifest itself. Essentially, it's gonna take the hard work, energy, labor, sweat, equity associated with it. And also just from an adult perspective, like the more things you get on your plate, like it's almost not everybody, but standard. People tend to traditionally dream less, right? Because
yeah.
they're so focused on what's going on at that very moment. They lose that youth and that jubilant spirit that is limitless as a kid. So that's what I think initially. What about yourself, bro?
Man, I'm gonna answer it in a different way. What's your dream car?
I like Maseratis, is what I would
You
say.
like Maseratis? Okay. So imagine the dopest Maserati, whatever model you want, but imagine that Maserati with no gas in it. right? Like,
Mm,
where can you go? Like, you can have the biggest dream, you can have the most outlandish goals, but like if you don't have something behind that dream or that goal, it's gonna be very hard for you to accomplish that because it's not something that's pushing you when things get hard. Right, I literally was just watching. I believe it was Love and Basketball, and you talk about like when life starts to happen and you get a lot of things in your plate, you put your dreams on the back burner. The mom and
mhm,
Love and Basketball, she told her daughter was like, I had my daughter when I was young, and I put my dreams on hold. Literally, she's like, I put my dreams on
mm,
hold so that I can raise
mm,
you. And then she was like,
mm,
once I started raising y'all, I started to do some of the things I love, and you just weren't accustomed to that because the girl was playing basketball, she was being like a house dresser, and she just couldn't understand it. But just like you said, like if you don't have motives behind your dreams and then you just start letting confusion in life and everything start happening, you will give up on that dream because you had nothing driving you towards it.
mm. That's so valid, and I just think about it from kind of my perspective now. I didn't do a whole lot of traveling like in my youth, growing up, and I
Yep.
think it was because oftentimes my parents kind of had a limited scope. For us, traveling was going to aunt's house, right, in a different state,
Yeah,
and this
yeah,
is a vacation for us.
yeah.
But now, again, like A went to the Bahamas. My baby, like, when we going to Paris, when we going to France, when we
Mm,
going to, and I'm
yeah,
like, that's love. But again, it's all based on that exposure. But again, the dreams that she has now, we're going to be intentional with manifesting. We're going to be intentional with asking her what is next, right? And
yeah.
hopefully the goal is that she pass that off to the next generation and we can continue to just scale from there. So, nah, that's spot on. I definitely resonate with that. And it's on us to continue to build from there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But y'all know the tradition. Let's grow together, family. We're gonna bring on our guests. We would love to get our guests' perspective on the quote as well. So without further ado, Vondale, welcome.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Appreciate you stopping by. So I'm gonna bring the quote up again so you can see it. So what's your thoughts on the quote?
Man, I love the quote. I actually just talked to ET today. But a dream without a motive is just a deep thought. I think about what Oral Roberts would say: success without a successor is failure.
Yeah,
Right? What
Hmm.
good is it to reach a level of success, and if you don't have someone to pass it to, it stops there.
yeah,
The idea stops with just the idea if it's not executed upon. So I think the actionable steps, ET and I, we've co hosted a podcast called Mass Impact. We got over 50 episodes. And a lot of the stuff we talk about is like we want to give you actionable steps, things that will move you to one space to the next space.
yeah.
And it's more than dreams, it's more than just ideas, and he talks a lot about your why, knowing your why and why you do what you do. So for me, it's just really making sure that we're not stopping with just us. We have something to pass this to the next generation.
Facts.
That I mean that aligns with the intro, right? It's not just about being a king; it's about being a kingmaker. It's about throwing that
Mm.
alley oop. Just talking to one of my mentees earlier, and he said, "I'm learning to stand and cheer while the other fellow stars now, right?" And that's one thing that we're huge on because oftentimes we love when we're the star of attention, right? But the second that it's on somebody else, everybody ain't equipped to handle that. But being able to again applaud, give flowers to the next individual as they thrive, again as you would want, is beyond pivotal. But in doing just a little bit of an introduction, man, can you give us a little bit of just background for those who may not be familiar with yourself, what you do, kind of a little bit of your story in regards to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Vondale Singleton. I'm a native of Chicago, the Southside, Bronzeville community, third generation of what we call project housing kid. So I had a chance to actually live and grow up in the projects. After my grandfather came to Chicago in 1921, he married my grandmother in 1923. And from that, they created a union of 9 kids. My father was the baby. So I've seen a lot, been exposed to a lot. But the manifestation of having, great people pouring into me in the 90s is really where I had what we call identity formation. I knew who I was, I understood my purpose, and I went about expressing that purpose through, the power of mentorship and education. So, lost my mom. My mom died in 1994. I was 14. My mom was 29. My father was incarcerated. I became a ward of the state. So by just listening to coming from the South Side, going through some very tumultuous, arduous situations earlier on, Technically, I wasn't supposed to make it past 18, but by God's grace and man, the power of mentorship, not only did I actually make it, I'm making an impact. And that's what I'm excited about is to share, the great work of Champs and what we're doing in Chicago and around the world.
Man, shout out to you, Vondale, because I'm also from the South Side, and so I very like I understand what you talk about, just in terms of the struggle that just people in our city experience. But I want to ask you, talk about some of those pivotal experiences that you had on the South Side and how that influenced you to start Champs Mentoring.
Yeah, as I mentioned, my mom, man, sweet woman, she meant well, had good intentions, but man, she got hooked on that stuff. When the crack epidemic hit in urban America in the mid 80s, man, I saw it firsthand. I saw what it did to families, especially, a lot of families on the South Side and Otta B. Wells housing projects. I live in 514 East 36th Street, apartment 202. And in that space, that's where I learned with my father putting the guns and drugs underneath the mattress, saying, "Son, don't touch this. I'm doing this to take care of you." So it was still ethics and morals and standards that we had even within the struggle within our family, where people were out surviving. My father sold drugs not because he thought it was cool. My father sold drugs because it was a survival mechanism. It was a means to try to take care of his son. And my father being a few years older, they were both teenagers when I was born. So the lack of education reared its ugly head, and obviously there's a scripture that say a house divided against itself can't stand. So when you got a drug user in one house and a drug dealer in the same house, we already know what's going to happen to that house. It won't stand. And unfortunately, I got the bad end of the stick. And as a result, like I said, after 14, where my uncle came on a porch on 67th and Kenwood and told me my mom had died in her sleep, I knew it was a result of the trauma she had on her body. I watched my grandmother have a heart attack in front of me, so I was used to death. Even up into that age, but it was just something different when the nurturer of your family, the one who's supposed to protect you and give you sustenance and life, dies.
Yeah,
What do? And there was some easy options. I could have easily went to the streets, and where I'm from, hopefully I can say this, there was a lot of gangster disciples where I live, GDs, you know, um, and it was easy for me to join the gang and be a part of that, or, decide to do something different. And there wasn't a whole bunch of options. You played ball, you chased the girls, you went roller skating, that was where I came from. So I try to do those things to steer clear from where I know was going to be at the end inevitable, which was death or jail. And like I said, by God's grace, man, He sent the mentor, Steve Robertson. And Steve Robertson, he showed me a blueprint. They tore the projects down. We moved out east off 71st in Crandon. I went to a school called O'Keefe, and I had again an identity formation stage where, all right, we got a second chance at life. It wasn't the best, but every opportunity that I got, in my life before the age of 18, I stretched that thing. It was like working for 1,000 men in one body. So you took the opportunities you had and you tried to make them stretch and make them last and create new memories from that. But yeah, man, it was really, that was probably the most detrimental thing that happened to me in my childhood is my mom dying.
gotcha.
Now, I heard you talk a lot about some of the early hurdles and things in which you experienced, and again, I think it's really relevant to a lot of youth in which James in our service, right? I would ask you because I heard you mention you were still able to kind of find purpose in the midst of all these different components. So I'm interested to know how did that dawn upon you when the easiest thing to do was maybe to go left where everybody else was, you chose to go right, right? Or I'd say actually take the stairs opposed to take the elevator, the easier route. How are you able to find your passion in the midst of everything going on, in the midst of chaos?
Man, that's a great question. I got tired of taking L's. There's only so much
Mm,
you can take, man.
Yeah,
Even though I didn't have the words to articulate my experience, it was very painful watching my mom do drugs every day. Watching my father carry guns and sell drugs and family members drinking and smoking all day, and then a fight will ensue, somebody will get killed or stabbed or hurt. I watched all that as a kid. That's traumatizing.
Yeah.
right? So as a
Hmm.
kid, you make decisions where you follow the same generational pattern or where you break it. God just allowed me to have a sense where it wasn't really compelling to me, the drugs, the alcohol. So I never smoked drugs, never did. When my father said, "Don't touch the drugs and the gun," when I was 4 or 5 years old, like I respected my father. When he told me that, I knew what he was saying. It was coming from a different place. It
Yeah.
was a man saying, "You see this, this is the cause of a lot of stuff that you see." And even though, again, I didn't have the words to articulate my experience, man, I felt pain. I felt hurt. And I didn't want to go down the same pattern. So I just chose not to. I made a conscious decision that even some of my cousins who was GDs and part of gangs and running the streets, like I'm like, man, I can't do it. And they knew my situation. A lot of them live across the street and around the corner. They didn't necessarily stay in the outer beast. So they saw like firsthand, like, dude got it real bad.
Yeah.
So a lot of them told me, he's like, man, if you can find a way to get out of here, don't come back. If you can find a way to get out of here, don't fall prey to what you think is success or cool. And I was just always different, man. I was always a leader. I could give you one example. I had a situation. I was about maybe 5 or 6, and we found a wallet out of Be Wells. A man lost his wallet. And one of the older guys, Antonio, found his wallet and he brought it over to me. He's like, man, look what we found. It's about $85 in the wallet. And I said, hey, man, I need for you to find that man, give him his wallet back. He laughed. Man, you crazy. Man, we finna go over to Lake Meadows across the street. We finna go to Lake Meadows, man. We finna go, shop. Jules is over there, Foot Locker, Baskin Robbins, Walgreens. And I said, no, we need to find that man and give him his wallet back. Years later, when I saw my man, we were all grown and he pulled me to the side. It was at my father's wedding before my father passed away. He got married. And he said, you remember when we found a man wallet in the Outer B Wells when we were young? And you told me to get a man his wallet back. And I laughed. We walked off and all that. He says, man, do you know that you were always a leader? He said, your words haunted me for days. I
Mm.
never spent that money. And I never told you this, but I found that man 3, 4 days later and I gave him his wallet back. And that man looked at me, almost broke down in tears. Was like, man, I've been looking for my wallet. I needed, to pay rent. I needed food. I got 3 kids. Shawty, because you did what you did, I'm gonna give you half of it, man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that right there showed me, signified to me that I was always different. I've always been like that. Not perfect, but I always marched to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah. That's real good, man. It's really just shows the type of character that you have and like really standing with integrity. Cause I remember having a very similar instance. I grew up a little bit everywhere in Chicago, but at this one stint I was on like 79th right near Escanaba, and we were at a store and a woman dropped like a 10, and my buddy was like, man, grab that. And I'm like, why? Like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Like, my first innate instinct was like, why? Because I'm like, I don't want to try to grab it. They see me, they hit me, something. So I'm just like, why would I even? And so I ended up telling the lady, like, hey, you dropped that. And my homies was like, man, you a punk, you a punk. And I just remember that. But like you being in the same situation and understanding, like, man, it's not even about the money. It's just the principle. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's most important. But you mentioned Champs a little bit earlier, which is your company. I would love for you one to talk about what Champs is, and is that an acronym? Because I've always wondered, is that an acronym for something?
Yeah, so CHAMPS is an acronym. It stands for Culturally Helping and Making Positive Success. And we
Gotcha.
have a motto. We believe that every young person is born to win in every situation in life, whether you're from a one-parent home, two-parent home, you black, white, rich, poor, Protestant, Catholic. We believe that you're born to win. So we live by that motto. And I created that because it was like, again, we kept taking losses in the community, man.
Yeah.
It's like the good times. We can never get over. It was always something that went wrong.
Yeah.
And
Man.
being in a place where a project like Cabrini Greens, I live in Ottaby. Well, it looked like good times.
Yeah.
So it's like we watched good time. I thought my uncle was Jimmy J.J. Walker. The way he
Yeah.
looked, the way he moved,
Yeah.
the way he acted. I promise you, I did. He was hilarious, but it was like we just kept losing. It was always something that went wrong, man. It was always somebody that lost their job. It was always somebody that fell out the window and got hurt. It was somebody that got robbed. It was somebody that sold drugs, smoked some bad weed with lace, and put in the hot. It was always L after L after L. So I said, God, what if we can redesign and change the whole narrative of who we are as black men coming from urban America? And I got on my knees, I promised, and I prayed, man. But the story before that, that same mentor, Steve Robertson, that helped me get on my first flight and helped expose me and gave me the power of mentorship. He's also the same person that helped ET get his first motivational speaking contract.
Okay.
So our connection is through mentorship that I have with Dr. Thomas. And I say all that to say this. When I saw the palm tree and I went out and took my first flight to California, I'm 17 years old. First time on the plane, my mentors asked me, "Have you ever flown on a plane?" I'm like, "No, I ain't never flown on no plane. Kids where I'm from, we don't fly on planes." You know what I
Right.
mean? He looking like, "Okay, well, we gonna get you on the plane. You got to get it. You got to see something different." And I promise you guys, man, when I saw that palm tree in California, something happened within me, bro. I saw people at Stanford University. I've never been to Stanford, heard of Stanford, seen the palm tree in an encyclopedia. I'm dating myself now. It was the internet before the internet. I saw the palm tree in there, but to see it in person, and when my mentor asked, he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about going to college?" And I'm like, "No, I ain't never thought about going to college." And he was like, "You can be the first one to go to college, and we're gonna help you get there." So that exposure happened earlier on. And when I went to college and I got to my senior year of college, getting ready to graduate, I called them back because everything started to make sense for me. It became a lot clearer what my purpose and assignment was. I was an education major. So I was like, man, I'm about to go into education. And I called Steve and I said, "Steve, what do I need to do to pay you back for what you've done for me?" And when he said, "Man, the same thing I did for you, do for somebody else,"
Yep.
it was like I found my calling in life. It's kind of every time I hear the word mentoring, something leaps in my heart. It's just like it's something special that's tied to my calling with mentorship. And it was like I knew that was supposed to be my life's work, that I was supposed to mentor young men just like myself from similar backgrounds with similar struggles. So really, that's how Champs came about. It was a way for me to pay my mentor back for what he did for me, but he also, through God, gave me my assignment. So I wrote the words down. I was on my knees praying, saying, "What do I call this?" And I heard the Holy Spirit say, "Call it Champs, culturally helping and making positive success." I wrote it on a piece of paper and I went. I was working at Gary Comer on 71st and Cottage Grove. I was an assistant principal at the time. And I told the young men, "This is who we are called from this day forward." And one of the young men asked that very question. He said, "But Mr. Singleton, champs is when you win something. We
Yeah.
ain't won nothing, so why we call champs?" And I told him, "It's prophetic. We about to win everything. We tired
Yeah.
of losing."
That's
Mm.
real.
S- Seeing is believing, and it sounds like that mentor is able to really expose you to something firsthand to tangibly see it. Right? You mentioned you saw it in the encyclopedia, but it's drastically different when you can actually tangibly see it. You could put your hands on it, and it really sparked
Mm.
you and turned you up. But I love how you took the lessons and the education of your mentor and you applied it to real life going forward. And again, you made everything tangible. For you, you had Steve, man. I had a Jeff May, which is my OG, my mentor that I pay homage to this day. And he lit that same spark in me. But for me, it was seeing somebody who had the duality of the corporate America, but was still accepted in the street. For me, I had never seen that. That blew my mind. It was either you go here or you go here. You
Right.
can't walk in between both ropes. And again, this he showed me that, and it really charged me up to be the difference for the next young man as well too. Now with
Wow.
champs, that's your own, that's your baby, that's your brand, that's something you're building out too. My ask is, how are you incorporating the next legacy and the next generation and continue to build out that legacy? Because I've noticed every individual who has an organization, right? We always say here at Roots is like, this is my baby, but now this is our baby, right? The mentality that it takes a village with that as well. So I'm interested to see like what does that look like with the next generation of leadership for you and your team?
Man, that's great. Again, success without a successor is
Yes,
failure.
sir. Yes, sir.
So, One of my first mentees, just a couple of them, but one of my first mentees, when we really got Champs off the ground, he's now the program director, right? That was
Let's
over
go.
10 years ago. So that shares everything about what I'm trying to do is in terms of passing the baton to the next generation. One of my first 8 mentors, Big Rob, he playing for the Miami Dolphins. He in his
Mhm.
fourth year playing for the Miami Dolphins right now, as a starting offensive player. But he started as original 8 of that group. So a lot of my original 8 are still going in their levels. And now he called over the summer. He says, "Man, Singleton, I want to do my first back to school giveaway in Chicago and Inglewood. Can you help me with that?" And I'm like, "Bro, remember what I told you? If you ever made it big, don't forget about the little people."
Yep.
And it's something that we truly believe in, man. It's like taking what we've learned and what we've acquired and really setting it up that if I were to die, it's not about the mission of the man, it's about the mission of the organization. I told them champs should continue to happen. Why? Is because you guys were able to watch up close us build this thing because y'all helped build it. And it's not I'm the master, y'all the student, and I'm the teacher, and y'all the pupil. No, we co-experts. So just as much as I'm giving y'all and y'all learning from me, I'm learning from you. And that's my model. That's always been my model. So we're in a place where guys who have served as mentees are now mentors in our organization all across the city. These are young guys in their 20s, but they watched and they like, "Man, I've gathered so much from the program. Now I want to give back like, what I've gotten from the program." And it's really, really a powerful organic movement where we don't have any caps. We don't have any caps. And what I mean by that is, man, we work with kids from the old block. Everybody talk about the old block, man. We work with kids in the old block. Old block kids work with us. And we work with people in politics and business and schools, everywhere, you name it. We've been across the world traveling together, learning and growing, bringing back to our village to expand our knowledge base, to expand our circle and our experiences. Why? Is because again, this thing is set up to pass on to the next generation. So again, we born to win in every situation in life. Is no excuse, and we have that obligation, the social responsibility to give back and to hold said people accountable to giving back. I hear people, "Man, I'm from the South Side of Chicago. I'm from the West Side of Chicago," and they make it big, and I'm trying to pull them in. It's like, okay, what are you doing for your city? You done made it out good. You done brought mentions and got all this money, but man, that don't mean nothing to me if you're not
Right.
giving back to people who are in the struggle. And I'm not saying being dumb about it. I'm saying you may have a certain gift, talent, skill, or ability, maybe in that area. If you made it to the highest level of success and you from Chicago, set up something, bro. Set up a foundation or partner with the organization that's grassroots, that's doing it, that you can give back to or through. So I'm a big believer in that. I'm not really easily impressed by a lot of things or a lot of people. I done met and sat across the rooms and spaces with all kinds of different people. But what impresses me, what moves me, what touches my heart and my spirit is somebody that have it all and able to share that information, knowledge, and wisdom and pass it to the next generation so they can be unlocked and activated. That's what I'm on, bro. So yeah, your question is, man, it speaks to the very essence of who I am and why I do what I do.
That's powerful, man. Marcus, me and Marcus talk about this all the time. Like we are trying to develop systems, and I even said this at the beginning, where if something happens to me, if something happens to the team, like this thing continues because the dream is bigger than us, and I love that. I believe you have a philosophy is salvation plus education. I would love for you to share a little bit of context on again where you got that from because I know it's back behind this winning mentality, but I would love to know like what drives that kind of philosophy that you have.
I stole it from my mentor. He used to say it when I was young. Love
Yeah, yeah,
plus education is an unbeatable combination. And when he
that's
said
real.
that, I didn't know what he was talking about
Yeah.
because I didn't know what salvation was. But
Mm.
that's what you hear, coming through me. You can't be called a champ without getting something from God. Like champs, man, it's about winning. It's a
Yeah.
mindset, it's a mentality, it's an attitude, it's a swag. That when we walk in, I mean, we look different when we walk in. We get everybody attention. from what we wear to how we act. And we spend that confidence to the young brothers, man. And some of them may come, their parents want them to join champs. The kids don't even want to be a part of champ. They ain't never heard of champs. But
Yeah.
when they're around that environment where we all talking like winners, acting like winners, with winners, man, it's gonna rub off on you. So when he said that, he was like, man, salvation plus education is an unbeatable combination. It's just like, man, I'm saved. I know who I am in Christ because I'm a believer. And I got education and knowledge and wisdom. And I can translate that. Man, I can go in any space. I can go to the Amazon forest, right? And mingle and survive, man, and share and break bread and leadership. I can go to the White House, which we've done with the president, and mingle. I can go to the hood and talk on the streets and mingle. Excuse my cat. But that's what he was saying, man. He was saying like you gotta have both. You can't just be one dimensional.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
gotta be able to have both. And how do you get both? Is, man, you have to make yourself available, have humility to grow and learn. That's why I still have mentors to this day. We were at the Nike headquarters a couple weeks ago with the founders of Jordan Brand, Michael Jordan's mentors, which a lot of people don't think he have, but he got mentors. And and I'm telling them every mentor needs a mentor. These are my
Yep.
mentors.
Yep.
Same mentor that mentor MJ and started the company are my mentors. So I got a certain swag just knowing them because they the Michael Jordan of executives, right? So and I'm saying we never grow out of that cycle or that circle. It should always be in a place where we serving, we're giving, we're growing, we're learning, and we're around others that support that. And if you ain't trying to grow and you ain't trying to expand and get out the box of limitation, I don't want to be around you. That's not the energy I have in this space. I'm about to be 50 in a few years. So that's just how I feel about it.
Hmm. In Alpha, we always say onward and upward, right? It's all about that elevation, always being a continuous learner. And I heard you talk a lot about some of those early L's, but we all know L's stand for lessons, right? Some of the heartaches that come with some of those early lessons. So pivoting a little bit from some of those L's that you took, now pivoting into some of the lessons that have learned you some of the provided you some of those accolades. I'm interested to hear, man. I know you've earned numerous accolades, including like two-time Emmy Award nominee, as well as the Michael Jordan and Jordan Brand Community Grantee. Tell us about a little bit of that, man. Again, you've been through the trenches, but now, man, being on the other side and being able to get your flowers, man, it gotta feel good. I know it make you smile. I know pops and ma's cheese and just being appreciative of everything coming full circle. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of those accolades.
Man, yeah, thank you, brother. I have a struggle with survivor's remorse and compassion,
Mm,
fatigue, and vicarious trauma. So I don't really often get a chance to sit in those flowers. And by God's grace, it's been tremendous in terms of people seeing the work, acknowledging it, or rewarding it, or getting grants, and having some experiences that I can share all day about. And I lean into that. But when you win, man, it's almost like you have to still be balanced and aware that it's a real
mm,
fight. I was talking
Yep.
to the global women's vice president of Jordan Brand earlier today, and she was asking me like, what do I define success as?
mm,
And I told her, I said, my success in terms of a definition, if I were to measure impact, it's until we all win. And it was a slogan that Nike created a couple years ago. And I wish they would just keep that slogan. But I'm really not winning until we all win. I'm really not winning until my brother get his situation in order. I got family members, bro, in the gutters right now. And
mm,
sometimes I have to fight against feeling bad for reaching a level of success of being the first one out my family to graduate from college. But again, man, it always feels good when people acknowledge it and see it and reward it. But I just can't live there. It's just something about it. It's hard for me to explain, bro. It's just like when you hungry and there's more. It's like the Bulls. We won the first championship. Man, it felt good to get that repeat.
Yep.
And then that repeat, it was like, man, we got to do a three-peat now, right? It's just like this desire to like, yeah, we got it, but we got next year, and we better start preparing tomorrow. That's just kind of how my mind works, bro. But yeah, to get the Michael Jordan grant, that was a huge blessing and win for us. You know, to get, I forgot the two-time Emmy. I didn't even know that all these cameras were following us. We were in London. There's
Yeah.
cameras. We was out there for an exchange with kids, and they following us everywhere we went. I didn't know they was gonna put it in some, award where the producers like, y'all been nominated. They literally called me on the phone.
Yeah.
Comcast was like, you guys have been nominated for these awards. And I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. And then in my mind, while we at the Emmys, I'm thinking like, okay, this is cool, but what's next? So that's just the way I've been wired, bro. It's kind of crazy. I enjoy it for a moment, and then I'm like, let's get back to work. We ain't won yet.
Yeah. That's so real, man. I don't know what it is, but like about like when you win, sometimes like you feel that survivor's remorse, like you feel bad. Like I don't know what it is, and I want to say it's because you have such a genuine heart. Like people have genuine hearts, and they like, man, I really want everybody to win. I think it was a Drake song. He was like, man, I want my guys to ball so hard I started up a league. He was
Mm.
like I'm trying to put my guys in position that much that I'm gonna start a league for them to ball. And that's a true testament to not only the way that you were raised, but your character, man. So I want to give you flowers on our show because we're really big on doing that.
Thank you, bro.
Um, continuing just giving you your flowers, man. You all just celebrated recently the 10-year anniversary of Champs. So shout out to y'all, man, because to be around for 10 years doing the work and really being out in the community, like that's crucial. And again, you talking about measuring impact is everybody winning. Like there are not a lot of organizations. Well, there are, but don't let me discredit them. But like to be doing it at this consistency, sustaining this same type of energy, man, like it's powerful. So I want to give you your flowers there also. But you also, I think, you won Father of the Year too, or were you nominated for Father of the Year? Talk a little bit about that.
Man, I can't really take a lot of credit for that one. My daughter, she was maybe in second grade, and
Okay,
Illinois have a Father of the Year essay contest for the whole state. And it's
got you.
thousands and thousands of kids that are required by teachers to write about their fathers.
Mhm.
And so she came home and she said, Dad, look what I wrote about you. And it was like 5 or 6 on second grade. My daughter was in second grade, promise, and I'm reading it, man, and I was in tears because I had no cognizance that my
Mm.
daughter knew about me in the community. I just thought she knew about me as a father because I don't really come home and really talk about a lot of the stuff I do in the community. But she really had been studying her dad and maybe talking to my moms too. But when she wrote that, man, and she said, Dad, my teacher told me that I should put this in the contest, and if she said if I
Mm.
win, then you'll be selected as a Father of the Year for the state. And I'm just like, yeah, that's sweet, baby girl. To go ahead and never crossed my mind that she would actually win or be one of the winners. So the Chicago White Sox, they held the ceremony with maybe 100 dads who were like the finalists for the state. We were invited. And as soon as we walked in, they was like, congratulations. You are going to be the Illinois Father of the Year. And I was just like, yeah. And I still thought it was a joke. It kind of tickled me. I'm like, yeah, right. And when I met Mike Singletary, one of my heroes, and he introduced me at the awards, I was just like, baby girl, you did this. I didn't do anything. So that's how I got that award. It was my daughter, man. She wrote about me, and out of all these people, they selected her essay and decided to honor me with that distinguished award. And I had a chance to meet like Mike Singletary in the process and told him how much of a hero he was to me. And as a pastor and as a man of God, how much I respected him for the life after football. So that was a pretty cool experience right there. But that was all my daughter.
Yeah, but to your point though, man, just as you said, seeing is believing with your mentor, right? Taking you out to see the tangible trees, right? Baby
Yeah.
girl is watching the whole time too. She's seeing everything firsthand. She hearing the impact from others. Um, I can relate. Now I ain't win no Father of the Year from the state. Now that's like that. But I say all that to say, man, like I was talking with Ava the other day, and she was like, "Daddy, you famous." I was like, "What?" She was like, "Daddy, you famous." She was like, "Everybody know you. You be on TV. You be on shows. You be da da da." And I just cracked up laughing, like, man, I'm appreciative to even be looked at in that light in your eyes, but that just shows me you're present, you're watching, you're observative, right? So it's beyond imperative, and I love that we can be the stars in their eyes because if we're not, who's controlling the narrative and who is, right? And that's the thought
Yes, sir.
process I always have in doing everything, engaging with her and just being present. So I love that. And again, just another black father, man. Kudos, brother. Kudos. That's huge, man. I know. Again, thinking back the perspective of my Dukes and Pops, like, bro, they proud, sincerely, man, and incredible because for you to come from where you came from to overcome the odds and not only overcome them but also give back and be the pillar and essentially a testimony for everybody else going forward, bro. You're giving the blueprint too, right? So again, kudos there. But I would like to ask, right? A lot of individuals want to get in the space in the arena when it comes to nonprofits. Now, not everybody does it for the right reasons, but obviously you have continued to sustain and continue to build because of how passionate you are, the connections, the drive, all that and more. So I would ask you, what advice would you have for individuals who aspire to start their own mentoring group? Um, and what can they do to stay as consistent as you have throughout the years?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. The question I get asked a lot, for others who are interested in starting youth mentoring or mentoring programs or mentoring businesses. I always say, do your research, know what's out there, know what's in proximity of what you're doing. It's no point if you trying to replicate or duplicate something if it's already been done at a high level. So find out and investigate what's already out there, and maybe there's an opportunity for you to come alongside and partner with that organization. But if you have a strong passion and you want to, reach it and fill a gap that you have discovered, by all means do it. But I warn people, when you start mentoring, and this is very important: consistency, consistency, consistency. Don't start no mentoring program and then every other week you canceling. That is not good for the end user, especially if you're talking about mentees that have stories. And this is how I started Champs too with some of the young men. I wanted to know what their father's story was because I knew every young boy had a father story. And what I found, it was three father stories. It was, I don't know my father's locked up, or he's dead. And the ones who, the 20% that had the other story was like, yeah, my father's alive, but he don't want to have nothing to do with me. I ain't never met him. So you got, it's something that you cannot play with when you're talking about starting a mentoring program. You have to be so committed. And I tell people all the time, I'm a Diet Champs mentor. I may not even be the CEO anymore, right? Somebody else may be the CEO, but if God allow me to live to 80, 85, people gonna know in Chicago, oh, that's the Godfather of mentoring. That's the Michael Jordan of mentoring. That's my hope and my desire, bro. I said once I did it, I was gonna commit all the way through. And then, and then I would say, like I said earlier, every mentor needs a mentor. Find somebody who's going to pour into you, give you the experience and the coaching that you need necessary to be able to provide to your audience, the highest of skills and tools necessary to help them fulfill their dreams and goals. Because at the end of the day, people may see the glory, but they don't know the story. It's a lot of work behind this, bro. It's a lot of
Yeah.
meeting owners. You got to make sure that you're getting your reporting done. If you're getting state and city money, it's foundations out there. They want to know, like, on real time how you're making an impact. Those dollars may leave. And, with all of these different variables, you have to remain the constant. And that's what I've
Mhm.
resolved. It's like no matter what, and we started off our program the first few years without a budget. We wasn't a 501c3. We didn't have a paperwork together, none of that. We was just doing it off of sheer heart because we knew it was the right thing to do in our community. And plus, we wanted to extend the validity of why we were doing our program. We didn't want it to be any barriers or obstacles in between our our reasonings, and our whys. And so once we were able to establish ourselves as a consistent program, then later on we started to add the layers around business, being able to sustain, scale, and grow our mentoring program. So I would say, yeah, it's a lot of people out there that's dope, that's doing some fantastic things, organizations we probably ain't ever heard of. We just got to make sure we find out, again, what's out there before we try to create something and then we get stuck.
I wanna chime in real quick and ask you a follow up question, brother. Um, yes, it's a lot that comes with it, but I've always asked those who are really on the forefront as well, how does your partner play a role in it? Right. And I ask for those who may be brand new to this space because boy, this joint is demanding. And if that partner or that right hand is not in alignment, it can be extremely combative, right? And it could be some difficult conversations after the fact because how time consuming, demanding it is, that mentee calling you last late at night, him having to
Yeah.
stay with you because of XYZ, things of that nature. For those who are looking to get into the space, I just want to know how vital is it to have a solid support system as well?
Yeah, I think two things. One, if you in a partner relationship, so like I'm married. I've been married for 21 years. I met my wife in college. She's an educator. She's a school principal here in Chicago public schools. And so we kind of share a common understanding and knowledge of what we need to do for kids and youth. We both come from that background. So I think even like who you choose to be in partnership with, whether that's a relationship, a marital relationship, or what have you, or a business partnership, you better choose wisely. And
Yeah.
here's why: is because there will be a day and time where that will be checked at the door in terms of why you're doing what you're doing. And if it's not really sincerely wrapped up into, and I hate to use these words, but some people, to your point, man, are starting stuff for the wrong motivations and wrong reasons. And they don't really have the calling, the heart, the passion. And therefore, they don't have alignment with whoever they partnering with, whether it's a spouse or somebody else in relationship or a business partner. It's just no alignment there because it was never alignment to begin with. You was trying to, get some grants and do some other stuff with some money that ain't got nothing to do with the people you're trying to serve. So I said, get that right first. And then the second thing that I think has helped me in my relationship, we established principles. Even when I started Champs, it was taking place on a Saturday. And that's usually the time with my daughter. At the time, my son wasn't born yet, but my daughter would have piano lessons and she would do certain things on the weekend. She was in gymnastics and involved with these, extracurricular active swimming and all these things. And my wife was like, look, that's cool what you're doing for the community. But when you come home, there's still dishes to be done. You still
Yeah.
need to do the laundry. You still need to vacuum the carpets. You still need to do chores. Like can you agree to that? And we had this conversation. And I'm like, yes, if you take care of the things while I'm gone from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday, I promise I got you, Queen. I'll make sure I do the laundry. I'll do the dishes. I'll do the floors. I'll do all of that. And I kept my word. And as long as I kept my word, my good brother,
Yeah, yeah.
it was harmony in what I did for the community. So I
Yeah.
didn't flip. I didn't put the community before my house and my marriage. I had alignment through communication and conversation with my wife. Why? Is because I wanted my marriage to last. Because before I touched anybody on the streets, I needed to touch my baby girl. She needed to see that daddy was a man of his word in that house. And that's important for me, man. It really is. So even with my son, he's 10 now. He's coming to all the Champs events. Jamal King, I don't know if y'all know the 9 to 5 millionaire. He was a grand marshal in the Bud Billiken parade.
Okay.
And he called, he said, bro, I gotta have you at the parade. And I know my son, he don't like doing nothing outside of what he don't want to do. I'm like, hey son, we gonna be in this parade, and I need for you to make sure your attitude is in line because we represent the front lines of this city in terms of
Yeah.
what we try to do. When we're real estate and we mentoring, there's gonna be cameras everywhere. Man, I need for you to straighten up, like real talk. So we had to have that dialogue and conversation because I wanted alignment there. other young boys are looking at me and how I deal with my son as a father. It's bigger than mentorship.
Yeah.
Now you get the respect of a father in the community because a lot of boys don't see that type of relationship. So all the way around the board, man, for me, and this is just me personally, man, I don't think champs would be as strong as it is, and we have made the impact that we've made after these 10 years if my marriage wasn't solid at home, my partnership wasn't solid at home. And then extending to that, my board and all of the organizations and people that support our work, just really being transparent and genuine about where we are and where I want to go as an organization. Being solid with that on both ends, man, it's been a real blessing. I've been really blessed in that area, both those areas, support and partnership.
That's real spot on, man. That was everything you said resonates. Going back to your original point, we lost some really dope guys because their intentions were impure. Like super
Mm,
dope, man. They were really like people, like connectors. Like they were dope, but because they weren't in alignment to the actual mission of what we were trying to do, and we lost them. And it wasn't like we had to say anything. Like they fired
yeah,
themselves.
it's
like
self-projected.
like they fired themselves, and it's just interesting. But it goes back to the original quote. You know, a goal or a dream without a motive is a deep thought. When you start running your race and you start seeing people slowing down, you start to realize that their motive is not the same motive that you had. So when things start going wrong, you don't get the grant. You start have to doing programs pro bono. They ain't trying to do that. People start jumping ship, and that really shows you like who was really in it for what. But man, we've talked a lot about champs, like what you're doing now and in the past. I would love for you to tell us like what does the next phase look like? What does the next 10 years and beyond look like for champs?
Man, I'm glad y'all asking me this question. It's one of my questions I wanted you to ask. So, I would say we have two phases now. Phase one was the first 10 years of champs. Now we're going into phase two, the next 10 years of champs. Phase one was about social emotional learning, programming, mental health support, identity formation, leadership development, all of those things. And we'll continue to do that in phase two. But phase two is about economic empowerment, building and land. My dream is to build a community center for boys and young men of color in Chicago where we have access to workforce development and innovation. I've been on a hunt the past 6 months traveling to different spots from my mentors and getting recommendations of places of people who have done it or done similar things so I can learn from to bring back home to Chicago. So man, I'm in need of a development director. So if you guys know some development directors that's really interested in helping us scale and grow and really get to it, man, send them my way. But yeah, that's the next thing, man, is to acquire some land so we can build on it. And I've been very direct in telling funders and telling partners and potential board members like this is where we going for champs. And because how intentional we are and how unafraid and unapologetic I am and talking about where we're going, it's gonna manifest. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
It's like for me, it's like I'm turning a whole new leaf. Like champs is starting brand new again
yeah,
because I'm not relying on the last 10 years. I'm actually like grinding, meeting new people and challenging myself and trying to explore what does it look like to have this person on board or this corporate partner on board or to make an axe where I might get rejected. Being able to grapple with my own ego and pride to say I have to get out the box now because this is going to take a nothing short of a miracle. And like you said, these are not losses. So when I'm talking about L's, bro, I'm talking about learning lessons. We just gonna build this as a stepping stone and make us stronger, better, and wider and bigger. So man, that's the manifestation of the next 10 years. We speaking into life, and we're gonna get everybody in alignment to making sure we have a safe space where boys are not afraid to go to these places where they're gonna get carjacked, shot, or they pockets ran, or pulling pipes out and poking people. Man, we done with that. That's over with. The new thing is, man, hey man, put down a gun, pick up a hammer. You know what I mean? Put down that pipe and pick up a skill. and we
Yeah,
want to teach you. We want to create the environment where now you get the skills necessary, the development, whether it's life skills, whether it's learning a trade, a vocation, whether it's aviation. You want to fly planes. We want to be able to put all of the dopest of the dopest in this space, and man, just curate experiences, man, and where young men and youth can just explore their talents and skills, man, and leave that place becoming CEOs and founders of their own company, bro. That's what we own.
that's powerful.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. It's year 10 and you right back to the drawing board, right back getting it in, man. Most people I know who are in year 10 get content. Hey, I'm an expert. I know what I'm doing in my field. Look at my resume. You getting right back out there and looking forward to some of the rejections, right? Because you know that's part of the grind, getting back to it. Now, I love how you are a leader on the front lines, right? But there is times where you play that general from the background to be able to put other individuals in position and play too. And that's one
Mm,
thing I love, and I think every leader has to do. You got to be able to play every piece on the board as well at one
mm,
point in time to know what that piece is doing improper as well, because you've been there at one point in time. So again, man, I sincerely enjoyed every bit, every piece in which you've told us today. And I know it's gonna be some people who have been inspired from this conversation, knowing that regardless of what's in front of them, man, as long as they believe and they're fully vested and they're doing it for the right reasons, anything is possible, man. So thank you for that. Now, as we pivot and get ready to conclude, like we got our growth segment. So I'm interested to get your perspective on what was dropped last time, man. So what we got? So Phipps, my brother, very very deep philosophical man, left us
mhm.
with something, man. So he asked a question. When was the last time that you uh
Marcus, I forgot you was blind.
yeah, I definitely I'm hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's going deep, boy.
I got you. I got you.
Right.
So I got you. I got you. All right. So hold on. Let me get my composure real quick. But no. But it says, when was the last time that you sat down and asked yourself who you wanted to become? And then he gave us an exercise. He said specifically make a list of what's stopping you from becoming that person, and then basically cross that list off and become that person.
Mm, I love that, man. It's I think that's the space that I'm in, like every day. When I left the Nike headquarters, and with my mentors, Howard White, who Chris Tucker played him in the Air movie. If you haven't watched the movie, he's the only black man that's cast as a star in that movie because he was in the room when Michael Jordan got signed. He created one of the godfathers of Jordan brand, and
Mm-hmm.
he wrote a book. And inside the book, he talks about, you gotta have belief in order to achieve. And they gave us these Michael Jordan like notebooks or what have you, and I wrote in that notebook, I will manifest the next 10 years of champs through phase two, but also realizing, like I said, man, I got to be willing to go through rejection. I haven't necessarily put myself through this on purpose in a long time,
Yeah.
since like my college years. And that's been over 20 some years ago. You feel me? So, but I want to be uncomfortable because I know I will appreciate when we do manifest what we're trying to manifest even more. I don't want it to be handed out. I want to actually go through the dirt so I can get in front of the ribbon cutting and say, we fought for this with tears in
Yeah.
my eyes. This ours. We owe no man nothing, but this what it took to get here. So man, I think that's right on point because right now that's truly the place that I'm in, bro. I'm like writing things down and saying this is what I will confess. My wife prays every day, and she's been doing this for years for the things that we're walking in now. So I'm giving her a new list to pray for in the morning when she's doing her confessions, to say, now let's manifest this building. Let's manifest the land. Let's manifest the supporters. Let's manifest the ideas that it will take to continue to have revenue to keep the operations of it going, right? Like all of the things, let's write it down and let's actually speak over it and pray over it until it manifests. That's the type of pressure I'm on right now, bro. So I love it. That's good.
That's powerful. So what gem or what question would you leave for our next guest?
Man, I got a gym, and as I was talking, I had to go back, man, to my roots. A brother who graduated from Oral Roberts, same school I graduated from. And when I say he's a general when it comes to like knowing your purpose and have many books, I've had the privilege to meet this brother. Unfortunately, he and his wife, they died in a plane crash, but his name is Dr. Miles Monroe, and he wrote a book called In Pursuit of Purpose. And one of the quotes that I want to leave everybody with and something to ponder on, he says it like this. He says, don't die old, die empty. That's the goal of
Mm,
life. Go to the cemetery and disappoint the graveyard.
mm, mm. Boy, that's good right there, boy.
So let me say that again, bro. Don't die old, die empty. That's the goal of life. Go to the
Mm,
cemetery and disappoint the graveyard.
mm.
Yeah, that's fire. That's fire.
I don't think it's too much to say after that, brother. I appreciate you wholeheartedly, man. Like I said, I know somebody got something from this podcast today. You talk so much about just maneuvering through obstacles, through adversity, and at the same time smiling through the adversity, right? Upon reflecting and understanding that it was all part of the process at the end of the day. Not asking why me, why not me, right? Because if it's not you, it's somebody else. And ultimately, that's just gonna be part of the story to motivate and charge up everybody else throughout that testimony.
Yeah, that's real. And Vondale, lastly, if people want to connect with you, whether they want to collaborate, they want to, they have some kids that they want to put in your program, like how can they reach out to you and become a part of Champs or connect with you?
Man, you guys can reach out to us at champsmentoring.com. I think that's the easiest place. We try to keep our website up to date. Thank you for our donor who sponsored our dope website. On social media, it's at Champs Mentoring, pretty much all platforms. And reach out to us. We're about to do orientation for the new school year here coming up. So make sure you go to I think our director posted it on Instagram the other day. There's a QR code. Sign up, learn about the program, explore, what we have to offer, and be a part of something that's moving, that's shaking, that's growing. And again, we just humble servants in the city, making a difference in the space of mentorship, but we have a target for boys and young men of color, 12 and up. So if you're in the community, you want to get with the program, go to the website, and then if there are any schools, we got hundreds of schools on the wait list. We are going to open up for a few more schools this year. You can also go to the websites and look in Champs in Schools and check us out and fill out the partnership form.
And tell them they can also make that donation to help open up that building on that site too now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That donate button, y'all. Let's go. Let's get it. We want to do it debt free. We don't want to have to owe anybody anything. And I believe we can do it. We need to do it. It's a need for what we're doing. So come on, y'all. And then any development directors that are out there, info at champsmentoring.com. Shoot us your resume. We need you.
Yeah. Well, again, let's grow together, family, man. We appreciate our guest, Vondale, for coming through, sharing his story, giving us all his game. It's been a pleasure. Marcus, you got anything for the people?
He said it all. Appreciate you and your time, brother.
Yes, sir, man. We appreciate you.
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, sir. Let's grow together, family. Until next time. Peace out.
Trying to find me a balance in life. Why I'm still trying to gamble with life. Wanna be great, it gotta come with a price. Gotta watch what you ask for. I strive for these moments in life. I'm still learning and giving advice. I try carrying the weight of the world. See, I saw when I was losing myself. I had to catch my breath. Nobody got you like you got yourself. So it's important for you to know who you are. Cause in the dark you gotta fight with your heart. Even if your heart broken apart. But they still gon' judge me. So tell me how that's been here for me. I had to see that everybody didn't love me. Like everybody ain't for me. I took chances just to see for myself. Cause for the longest I've been hurting myself. Trying to blame someone else. I stand on it, don't regret what I did. Cause I can live that my intentions were real. My heart just needed to heal. Gotta get back to loving myself and trusting myself and better my health. Nobody loves you like you loving yourself. You gotta know who you are. Gotta get back to loving myself and trusting myself and better my health. Nobody loves you like you loving yourself. M.P.